Now and forever, we bring IT to life.
And welcome everybody to January 2016 Connect with Remedy webinar. We have a great topic today based on what's new in Remedy version 9.1 and Smart IT 1.3.01. Today we have Rahul Vedak, a Senior Product Manager, and John Hall, Lead Product Manager, is our presenters today. I'll turn it over to you, Rahul.
Thank you, Greg. 2015 was an impressive year for Remedy products and probably for Remedy customers, partners, and users. We had some of the milestone releases loaded with market-demanded features that we released in 2015. Remedy 9 was the first one to hit shore in May, along with Smart IT 1.1 and My IT 2.5 release. New platform, REST API, archiving, brand new smart reporting, change and knowledge personas for Smart IT were few key highlights of those releases. We had a service pack release for Remedy 9 along with Smart IT 1.2 and My IT 2.6 in late August. We introduced simplified Remedy SSO, new Zero Downtime upgrade for AR platform then. In October, we had Smart IT 1.3 release that continued with our journey of Smart IT to provide support for additional ITSM personas. We added support for problem persona. We also expanded capabilities for change persona in that release. And finally, just few days before Christmas break, we released Remedy 9.1 and another service pack for Smart IT 1.3 release. And today's topic is to discuss what benefits you would get when you upgrade to this 9.1 release and Smart IT 1.3.01 release. My name is Rahul Vedak and I'm Product Manager here at BMC as part of the Remedy Product Management Group. Quick read into today's agenda. We'll begin the session with few key highlights of 9.1 release, including the new permission model for ITSM application, changes to AR platform, updates to smart reporting, and so on. I will then have John talk about Smart IT 1.3.01 release, which added support for KCS, Knowledge Center support. And for some of you who may not be familiar with this terminology, KCS, Knowledge Center support, it's a set of practices for creating and maintaining knowledge in a support organization. And where it differs from the traditional add-on process for knowledge engineering is KCS is the integral part of the day-to-day operation support center. And there are great benefits of KCS methodology in terms of faster issue resolution and resource optimization, and that's one of the big benefits for customers to adopt KCS. So we'll talk more about KCS in the later part of this presentation. We'll hear from John. So moving to Remedy 9.1 release, let's look at smart reporting to begin with. I'm sure most of you have at least heard about smart reporting, if not got opportunity to work on the new reporting application. We introduced smart reporting with Remedy 9. It's the new enough reporting technology that has both executive dashboard as well as operational analytics available in the single tool. And it has some 40 plus different charting options, drag and drop UI, easy to understand semantic layer that hides complexity of Remedy data model when designing report and dashboard, and some great social capabilities. So what changed in smart reporting in 9.1 release? So there are two pieces of it we kind of address. One is content, the new content for service owner or service manager persona. So as a service owner, I'm interested in looking at some key statistics in the context of a service that I manage. So some statistics like service availability on unavailability trend for last 4 quarters for a service, status of issues, changes, problem for the selected service, or KPIs like in the first call resolution, MTTR, change success rate for the service. Now, some of this information is available in smart reporting even in 9 release, but it's just that it is scattered across different dashboards and reports. By providing all of this information about the incident changes, availability in one single dashboard, we are actually giving that context of a service to all of this information and helping service owner to manage and optimize his service offering. Continuing on the content story, we added few more KPIs. As you know, in the first release, we had added KPIs for service desk and change management. We expanded that list of out-of-the-box KPIs to include problem management, request management, and availability KPIs. On the application front, we improved on one critical capability for smart reporting, that is by adding few more AR-JDBC functions. And AR-JDBC functions, additional functions help you to create advanced reports that was not possible in the previous release. One of the AR-JDBC functions that we added is support for the union clause, and I can better explain that with an example. So, for example, CMDB, we have two primary forms, CI and relationship, and these are two different forms in the backend. But when we talk about any data set, we don't talk about those two different entities, but we talk about the total volume of data set, which is both put together, CI and relationship count. So before the union feature that we have added now, you have to create two different reports and then any statistics for those two separate entities. With 9.1 release, you can use the union feature to create one single report that brings data from these underlying forms or tables. Another classic use of the new union is for getting data for the archive data. So as you know, we introduced the archive feature in Remedy 9 release. So essentially you have data now which is in the archive tables as well as the live tables or the production table. By using smart reporting union feature, you can create a single report that brings information for instance from these production tables as well as for the other records which are lying in the archive table. So that's the great benefit of adding this new AR-JDBC function. There are a few more that we'll cover in the backup slides later. Another one on the smart reporting is GeoPack. So we have provided out-of-the-box GeoPack, which gives you map code or zip code based data points that you can use with your site or other information in your ITSM, and you can see maps, GIS map, where you'll see the data for, let's say, incident by site, which shows you the information as data points on those GIS maps. So this is again available out of the box GeoPack. You need to go to VMC's EPD site, download those maps and add it to your environment, and just do another step of mapping your geomap information with the the actual data that you have, like pin code, zip code, or location data, and then you're ready to use those new GIS maps. Second part of this smart reporting has been on the administrator side. If you're reporting analyst or administrator, you will have often users coming back with performance or system challenges, or the specific report or dashboard is taking time to load, etc. But you have little data to defend that it is not a system problem but something more to do with data. So what we have introduced in 9.1 release is the administrator dashboard. A dashboard that reporting administrator will use to get insight into the usage of the system, performance of different reports and dashboards. And all of this is intended to help administrators to offer optimal performance of reporting applications to their users. So let's take some examples here. You can find most widely used reports and dashboards on the admin dashboard. So now you can decide to pre-run some of these reports so that when users are looking at this report, they get this information pretty fast. Or you can decide to discard the content which is not used, because now you have access to the statistics about each report and how frequently it is getting used. So you can periodically clean your reporting system for unwanted content there. Or you can find the slowest running report and modify it for better performance. Also, you can do some tricks like CMDB report, which scans the entire asset data set, rather than allowing users to run those reports every time. You can run those reports every day or every let's say every 12 hours based on how soon your discovery is populated in CMDB, and you kind of save yourself or save the system from running those huge CMDB reports. So that is all about smart reporting, what we've improved. Hey Greg, let me know if you can hear me okay now.
Yes, you're doing fine. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Another area of improvement for Remedy 9 release was around the enhanced control over data access and data visibility. And particularly if you use ITSM multi-tenancy, or if you're a service provider or have multiple services, you'll find these changes something that you want to adopt sooner. So what are these changes? There are 3 of them I have covered in the 3 slides here. The first one is segregation of access to ticket data. Today, you get access to ticket data based on your company. Now this is pretty simple and straightforward structure for accessing data, but it has some unexpected results when you have multiple services. So like in this example, by being in the same company, you have access to IT tickets, which is, let's say, my job to support all the IT issues. But I also have access to HR data just being in the same company, which is unwarranted. Similarly, within IT support, let's say, we have VIP services, and there are VIP support groups supporting those. Even in such scenarios, I'll have access to those VIP tickets, although I should not have, I'm just focusing on the general ticket queue. For such problems, there is no easy way to segregate access to ticket data before 9.1 release without any customization. So what changed in 9.1 release? One line answer is now access to your ticket data is based on support groups and not company, as was the case previously. Now, in the context of this new change, if you revisit the problems that we just talked about, as part of IT support group, now I will see only IT tickets and I will not be able to see the HR cases. Similar way, if you have a VIP support group, then I and let's say there are other fellow members of this VIP support group are the only people who can see this VIP ticket, not the other people in the company. Now, how this is achieved, I'm not going to talk a whole lot of it, but what we have done is we have populated field 112 with login IDs of the individual, and 2, it is based on the permission group ID of the support group related to the ticket. And if I quickly talk about this, for example, in the incident management, this 112 field will be populated with customer login ID, direct contact login ID, assigned group ID, and the owner group ID. So effectively, after this change, the people who will have access to the ticket is customer, direct contact, if there is any structure, and let's say there's a CTO office somewhere in the middle that you'll see here. CTO office need access to both IT and HR tickets. So what they do here, they create a new support group, let's call it as CTO Access Support Group. Make this CTO Access Group as a parent for all the available support group under IT as well as HR. And then finally, you just make all the users, whatever the CTO office uses as member of this new CTO Access Group. And with this change, now CTO office users will have access to both HR as well as the IT ticket data. Now this hierarchical group change applies to CMDB, ITSM applications including SRM and SLM. Now The immediate question I'm sure from the audience will be, what is my experience post-upgrade because of these two changes? The good news is you'll not see any change in the application behavior post-upgrade, since during the upgrade the parent group of all the support groups will be populated with company permission ID in the group form. So as a result of this, users will continue to get access to the ticket data as they would before the upgrade. So there is an option for customers to gradually adopt this hierarchical group and the new permission model here. And also to note, the product and the categorization, the product categorization and the operational categorization, they are unaffected by these changes. The third one here is the assignment menu change. So support group assignment menu is today driven by users. So take an example of service provider where we have two tenants, Pepsi and Coke. So as a part of service provider organization, I'll have access to both the tenants. So let's say I'm doing the ticket assignment. I could wrongly assign Pepsi support group to Coke's ticket, and this will result into the data visibility across tenants, which is highly undesirable. So to avoid such problem, in 9.1 release, assignment menus are now driven based on companies associated to the ticket and the configuration for that company. So we have added new support group assignment configuration form, and you can add support groups for this company, and now this assignment menus are based on this configuration, new configuration that we have. Another thing to note here is we have documented all of these changes, the permission changes that I just described. But more importantly, we have a next webinar in this series dedicated for this topic. So do sign up for the February webinar where you'll have a lot of these details for these three changes talked about. Let's switch gears and talk about the platform enhancement now. So most of the platform enhancements are on top of what we offered in the Remedy 9 release, 9.0 release. So I'll try to recap in a line or two about what we added in Remedy 9, and then I'll talk about Remedy 9.1 specific change here. If you need more details on Remedy 9, then the webinar is already recorded and available on the BMC community. Just go and Google for Remedy Connect webinar, and then you'll see the Remedy 9 webinar in the list of archived webinars there. So let's begin with Call Home. This is opt-in based Call Home that we introduced in Remedy 9 with the intent to provide faster resolution to customer issues. We made two critical changes to Call Home in 9.1 release. The first one is around the ability to extract application version and share this with BMC support. So what's the pain really? So today, in absence of Call Home, customers on an average spend 30 minutes to go through 5-page PDF, and then they extract all of the version information for different components and send it to BMC support. And this on an average adds half a day delay to the issue resolution process. So with this announcement, all of this information will be readily available to customers so that they can quickly share with BMC support for a quicker resolution. Also, another announcement in this area is the plugin configuration and the upgrade history. Similar to the version information, customers can share this information, which has been a root cause of significant percentage of tickets that get generated for Remedy today. Yeah, so this one was another sophisticated way to move changes to code and data across environments that we added in Remedy 9. The big advantage of using this new methodology for moving the code and data is this doesn't need OS level access. You don't need to provide OS level access, as well as there is no need for installing Dev Studio on a QA or a production instance. Also, it helps with audits, with the segregation of duties. So you have admin, and then you have people who are managing the system, no one is kind of doing the double duty here. So customers on different forum indicated this is a great platform enhancement, but there was one critical piece which was missing was for support for SRM objects. So we have added that in 9-month release. We have SRD, PGT and supporting data that we can now move across environments using this promotion framework. Also, we introduced this rollback capability. So essentially, this is the ability to roll back workflow objects post deployment from the same console in case you find some issues with these new changes that you just introduced or you promoted on the QA or the production environment. Upgrade with zero downtime. So when we talk about this, most of the customers reacted, this is too good to be true. When we talked about this in the August in service pack release. But it's a reality for AR and CMDB. Now essentially you have access to the methodology of upgrading AR and CMDB without any downtime. So which means that you can keep your AR and CMDB current with the latest releases from BMC, and this can be this upgrade can be done without any downtime for the ITSM applications. So what changed in Remedy 9-month releases? Now we are supporting all the platform and databases that which previously were limited to only the Windows in the SP1. You can very well use this framework to upgrade to Remedy 9.1 from previous AR version without any downtime. And before moving to the next slide, if I was not explicit, let me state it, but this is a great feature available for AR platform and CMDB upgrade. For ITSM app, you still follow the traditional method of upgrade. That has not changed. Coming to archive, another key deliverable from Remedy 9 release where you get out-of-the-box archive policy, so you can move your older data in archive form. So let's say incidents older than 3 years and in closed state can be archived automatically. So apart from regulatory and compliance benefit that you'll get because of archive, one big advantage for users was you get a performance system now because you have limited set of records that you reference when you're doing some of those transactions. Also the concept of association that we introduced that did most of the magic in the back end where it was not just moving a record or an incident but also moved the associated object so that making it archive was more meaningful than in the past what we provided. So what again, the question is what changed in 9 months? So 2 areas of changes both related to SLM here. The first one is SLM information related to a ticket will now get archived with respective tickets. So when your ticket gets archived, all the SLM information also gets archived along with it. The second one is again for SLM, which is we have added new archive policies for SLM application itself. So namely, the SLA compliance and the SLA compliance history form, those records can now be archived using the SLM archive policies. And if you know the great benefit of archiving from this compliance data is that's a huge volume of data that gets created, and by archiving it regularly, you'll get some great performance boost for SLM transactions. Moving on to Remedy SSO, Remedy Single Sign-On. As I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, Remedy SSO was introduced in the Service Pack 1 as a new lightweight method for user authentication and archiving single sign-on for Remedy mid-tier access, Smart IT, MyIT Service Broker product. In fact, we have done a webinar on Remedy SSO in the last quarter of 2015, and again, that recording is available if you want to explore what Remedy SSO is, how to deploy it, what are the great benefits of using it. We continue to add some critical features for Remedy SSO in 9.1 release. The first one is support for LDAP, the directory protocol. Given that LDAP is it's probably the most widely used protocol within enterprises. I'm sure LDAP support will help you to start adopt Remedy SSO now. We have also provided a pluggable framework for user ID transformation. The big benefit of this user ID transformation feature is when users have different login name in Remedy as compared to LDAP. Let's say there is some kind of case variation as my login name in Remedy versus how it exists in LDAP. Then you can actually use this user ID transformation feature to correlate these two logins belonging to the same user. And you can, this is expandable framework, so you can have additional login, like stripping out the email domain name from the complete email ID, etc. Using this pluggable framework. So the benefit is you can essentially continue to use SSO using this user ID transformation now. Another two areas of changes mostly in the compatibility, one on the platform side of RSSO, which is RSSO now support all the platform and databases that AR supports. And the second one is probably the biggest, which is compatibility of RSSO with different versions of AR. So today with 9.1, irrespective of your AR version, you can benefit of deploying RSSO for all the SSO needs. Because it is now compatible with those different versions of AR. Of course, the AR version itself should be supported by PMC when I say all supported versions of AR. Moving on to quickly talk about few other enhancements for 9.1 release. One is the CCS or centralized configuration. All of the AR components, including the one listed here, are now managed centrally through the CCS UI instead of the configuration file. So you are now completely avoiding access to OS and other overhead related to managing this configuration file. Next, two changes to the data management. The first one, on popular demand, I would say we have added this company field to UDM framework. I know most of you have talked about this on different forums, so we hope to have simplified this the whole onboarding effort with this change now. The second equally important one is around the organization changes, mergers, acquisitions, resulting into introduction of the new company, the support group. But there was no clean way of moving existing records. Those belong to the older companies, the support group. So what we have done in 9.1 release is we have added this new capability to onboarding wizard to merge older companies or support group records to the new organization structure. If you have new companies, new support group, you can merge those old records so that you have a consolidated view of all the data in the system. Platform enhancement, I did talk about JDBC in the context of smart reporting. Union was probably the most prominent, but there are other changes as well in AR JDBC functions, which allows you to create new report and segregate data in buckets. Like, let's say I want to pull a report and classify incident by ages, less than 1 week age, 1 to 4 weeks, 4 to 12 weeks, and so on. I can pretty well do that with the new bucket features in the AR JDBC queries. Also, there is one change in the platform for smart reporting. There is a configuration for a dedicated queue for JDBC queries. So this helps me to isolate user requests from the request coming for reporting, so that I can decide to have the user request going to a particular queue versus the reporting queues coming via AR JDBC. Also, CMDB SCCM adapter is now improved and offers better installation experience, and also it supports the newer version of SCCM 2012 with this release. And finally, a quick word on the compatibility update. In fact, the good news is there is no major change to compatibility. What we have done is we have added support for Windows 10, the client operating system that Microsoft introduced in second half of 2015. Also, we support this new Windows browser Edge with Remedy 9.1. So that was a quick overview of Remedy 9-month release and key benefits of new features. For the next section, I'm going to invite John and talk about the Smart ID 1.3 release, where we introduce the KCS, the knowledge-centered support functionality. John, over to you.
Thank you, Rahul. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you sound great.
Excellent, excellent, good. Right, well, what I want to introduce today is some new functionality that we've extended our knowledge management module to include. Knowledge-centered support is, in a sense, it's an industry framework that is trying to address some key challenges that the KCS Foundation, who put this together, have identified in the industry. And our own view from extensive work with customers is that this is a good analysis of a very common challenge. Increasingly, knowledge management is seen as important or essential. If you think about the transformation that's going on in companies right now, everything is going pretty digital, and suddenly support functions are not just dealing with a relatively narrow range of computer systems and software and services that they may have been focused on 5 years ago. I used to joke about there's a famous Oracle software license model where the illustration in their guide talks about forklifts talking to sensors and having to license those forklifts. And then, as an aside, I used to use that in asset management presentations, almost jokingly. And then suddenly I read an article recently about how your average forklift in an industrial setting has about 40 computers on it. So that's just a tiny illustration of how complex the landscape is getting. To scale to that, increasingly organizations feel that service desk personnel and second and third line support personnel need access to a good range of knowledge. And so a lot of investment has gone into knowledge bases. But one of the challenges is that it's easy to embark on a knowledge program, but it's hard to build the knowledge base to a level of maturity that is adequate. There's been different approaches to doing that. Some companies have attempted to use standalone knowledge teams, and there are companies who have succeeded for sure. We're talking about tendencies rather than absolutes here, but a lot of the time those teams struggle because they don't have the detailed technical knowledge they need to write an article themselves, so they're very reliant on input from technical teams. Those technical teams are often running at 110% capacity anyway, and so they don't have time to break out from core activities to build knowledge. And so we have a bit of a dilemma there, really, because although knowledge will help them, there's no time to write the stuff. There's been other approaches like crowdsourcing or purchasing external knowledge, and those can be quite effective at populating a knowledge base quickly, but they can also lead to a lot of noise, a lot of duplicate results, none of which are quite right. So that's the sort of the challenge that's set out by the KCS Foundation, and we do agree, we see this a lot. KCS is a framework, and I've heard it described a little punkily as being a bit like an ITIL for knowledge management, which is somewhat true in that it is, it's designed to be a set of practices and processes that you can adapt and work with. But there are some fundamentals at its core. We don't want support people to have to solve something that's already been supported. We want them to have access to the fix that's already been created by somebody, investigated by somebody. Support should be about delivering value quickly and not performing the same investigation over and over again. The aim also is, to enable support personnel to get up to speed quickly and improve the time it takes for them to be proficient. And that ties in really well with what we've already been trying to do with Smart IT. We want people to be able to use the tool quicker. We want service desk managers are always looking for ways to reduce onboarding times for staff from, or the time the staff get to full productivity. Typically that could be 6 months, and if you can make it 4, that's a massive, massive improvement. There's also an increasing push towards delivering effective self-service, which is very much in line with our vision around My IT, but it's also something that I think more and more of us do without even realizing it. We'll go and find the information ourselves instead of making the phone call if we can help it. And that applies across many different services in our professional life and our personal life. If we can do all those things, we're actually improving the overall product provided by the service organization and even by the wider company. So KCS really does advocate that there's a lot of value to be found here, and it's a very valid case. How this actually then works, what does this look like on the ground? Because those are all good principles, but KCS has to have a way of delivering those in practice, and it does. I would summarize it by saying that the biggest fundamental of KCS is that everybody should be interacting with knowledge every time they deal with the support issue. And that sounds a bit lofty, but the aim is if I'm resolving a ticket, I should be finding knowledge to that corresponds to that solution. Even if I know it, at least if I pin the knowledge to the solution, it helps us to identify what things are coming up most frequently, so there's still value even then. Once again, Smart IT, I think, really does position itself very well if you're using that. It's pulling knowledge search results in real time as you type as a service desk agent. So I think we're covering that pretty well already. But then that's not just enough. It does mean a lot of knowledge gets created, and what we want to do is also make sure that the content is evolved and improved. And KCS advocates doing this in a very targeted way. If you've created 10,000 knowledge articles, you might find that 50 of those articles are being used 80% of the time. And those are the articles where we should really focus our evolution and our quality standards. And in doing that, we end up with kind of a broad knowledge base with the key areas focused on and improved, and that develops a tremendous repository of information which has huge value. It has huge value in every interaction with customers. It also means that when new people are coming into the company, for example, they're not just starting from scratch. They have immediate access to that archive of experience in the company. And this is all tied together by KCS with a real focus on teamwork and rewarding performance and encouraging development. So I would encourage you, if that's of interest, there's quite a lot of material on KCS. The KCS website itself is very interesting and quite detailed. And I mean, even the Wikipedia article is pretty, as long as it's not been changed overnight, it's pretty informative and useful. Just a little more detail, if you read up on this, this is what KCS called the double loop process. And down the right-hand side is what I described. That's trying to encapsulate what I described about service agents, support people, dealing with knowledge every time. There's a principle called, called flag it or fix it. So find it, flag it, or fix it. When you're dealing with an article, we capture. If we don't find anything at all, we capture some new information. If we do find something, we try and use it to fix it, and if there's an issue, we flag that, and that can be attended to, and that knowledge article can be improved. So that's all captured in the right-hand side. On the left-hand side is the evolve loop, and this is more about the proactive processes, the health monitoring, the staff development, and the performance assessment. And we've built things into Remedy that cover both of these loops. So let's talk a little bit about this. You can enable this functionality with Smart IT 1.3 Service Pack 1 and with Remedy 9.1. And you do need both of those things, and I will explain a little bit of why that is in a moment. Once you've done that, you have the option to use it. This isn't something that we know every organization will want to use in its entirety. We do have an increasing number of customers who do, and who are very bought into this and see it as a route to transforming, they're moving to the next sort of level with their service organizations. In short, what happens is we have a new set of roles defined in ITSM. So if I want to turn on KCS functionality for any particular user, I would go into the application administration console and I would remove their existing knowledge user or knowledge admin user rights, and I would replace it with one of the KCS roles. Now those roles are a KCS candidate, KCS contributor, KCS publisher, and KCS coach. Those correspond directly to things that are defined in the KCS framework. And once we've done that, that effectively switches on the KCS capability for those users. So it's totally opt-in. We're not asking anyone to make an overnight change forced by BMC. And the opt-in is very simple. You do it right there on the admin console. The reason we've done that is actually that, and this is why you need the ITSM update as well as Smart IT 1.3. These are permission groups. These are permission structures. A KCS candidate is the base level. Everyone really starts there. They have the ability to create articles, provisional articles. They have the ability to flag other people's articles, so they can immediately be contributing articles into that KCS body of data. The those are the candidates. The contributors are the next level, and those are people who might have actually done a specific KCS training course to be or they're generally people who have been identified as good writers who are providing quality articles that meet the expectations of the company. They have the ability to publish, set things to a published status so that all internal users will see those as formally published articles. KCS publisher, the third level of maturity, those are the people who are really well trusted to deliver fine quality content, and they have the right to publish knowledge articles using the public flag, which then makes them visible in MyIT to end users. And again, this is all fundamental KCS principles. KCS is not just an IT framework, it's used, for example, by hotel companies, and their KCS publishers are the ones who actually have the right to put articles, help articles on the public website. And so that's a pretty, it's a pretty formal role in some contexts. Those are the people who have really shown themselves to be well trusted, well capable. And some of the assessment things in the Evolve that we'll talk about in a moment are the ways we identify those people. Finally, the KCS coach, there's a specific training course that the KCS Academy offer. I mean, whether you take that up or not is up to you. But the KCS coach's job fundamentally is to mentor a group of people. They're not typically their direct reports in the organizational structure. They may just be a group of 10 or 12 people who really the KCS coach is aiming to help progress from candidate to contributor to publisher. And as we say, you can replicate that progression just by setting the appropriate permissions in ITSM. So we have that role structure. We have the ability to evaluate performance. This view that you see on screen is actually a dedicated team view for a coach. So a coach can set up their team, they can look at the activities of the team, and they can produce a bunch of different KPI and performance reports and encourage and chat. And it's designed really to give them a one-stop portal for the role of KCS coach. So that's a new screen that's enabled for KCS coaches using Smart IT. And one of the things the coach is most likely to do to help, identify the good, help mentor people, help build them as better, knowledge producers, help progress them from candidate to contributor to publisher it's something that KCS defines as the article quality assessment. Now, an article quality assessment it's effectively it's a structured checklist of questions, and some of the questions you may well be able to read in there, is this a duplicate article? We don't want to create noise. If we're encouraging people to create knowledge in each interaction, but only if it's not there already. If it's there already, they should be linking what's there. So one of the expectations we have on people is they should be checking they're not creating something that's already a duplicate. And so that's a very typical article quality assessment question. When I did the KCS training course about 18 months ago, they said, most people just do this on Excel. Well, while Excel, anyone who builds business software should know that Excel is a competitor to what they do, we really felt we could be much more assistive than that. That's not the Smart IT way. And so the article quality assessment is built directly into the article. And for checking for duplicates, we have a little button you can click, and that'll assist you in finding them. There's a set of other yes/no questions. You might see at the bottom, one of them is the metadata on the article set correctly? Another firm KCS suggestion that should be a question. And again, one click, it'll show the metadata. So the aim here is to make the job really easy for coaches. This is all then saved and linked to the article, and it connects then to a set of reports that run off the coach's console. There's quite a few features we can talk about, but these are just real, examples of how we've tried to build this very interactive and assistive. Our aim here is to be to support KCS, but to do it better than other. When the academy is suggesting to people, a lot of people do this on Excel. Well, yeah, a lot of people do a lot of things on Excel. That doesn't make it the best way. Mobile has always been a big feature of Smart IT, of course. We have iOS and Android native apps that correspond with pretty much all of the functionality of the universal client, and in fact, in some cases, if something's a mobile-specific task, some of the mobile apps actually have features that the universal client doesn't have. But for KCS, we felt, well, what was the most important things to do? Well, we've already built in Smart IT's previous versions the ability to create really nice knowledge articles on mobile, so that hasn't changed, and we're extending that with one new template that corresponds directly with a kind of KCS model template that's defined in their practices guide. You don't have to use that template to use KCS in Remedy, by the way, but it's there if you need to. This stuff works on any template. Again, even if I'm out in the field and I'm being a good KCS citizen and creating a new knowledge article for something I fixed for the first time in the organization, I can do that on mobile with the help that I would have on the universal client, like, for example, a duplicate check. That article quality assessment, when we talk to people about when they do these things, it's almost like a school teacher taking home their marking. A lot of the time this stuff is not done in by people sitting at their desk. And mobile, of course, gives the opportunity to do things in different ways. So we actually really envisage people maybe doing this on the train to work. While I'm quiet, I'll do a couple of article quality assessments. And therefore, although this is something it might have been easy just to leave in the web client, we really wanted to make sure that's on the mobile client too. And so, again, as in common with a lot of the rest of Smart IT, that Android app, that iOS app, they connect to the same Smart IT server. You don't need a separate mobile server. And they run as they run as native apps, and I think they're really nice. I think the mobile teams and the UX have done a great job of them. And then finally, we as I said, that evolve loop, it revolves a lot around the use of metrics. And again, KCS defines a lot of these. So typical examples will be participation rate, and that's an assessment of how often a user is being that good corporate citizen and finding it, flagging it, or fixing it. Participation, effectively non-participation, is defined when none of those things have happened, and so that user has closed a ticket and there's no knowledge article assessed against it. And that's an example of the kind of KPI that we've just built out of the box. We've done this, by the way, using smart reporting, using Remedy 9's new smart reporting. However, these things are embedded right into the coach console as well. So if we come back a couple of pages briefly, on the right-hand side of this page, you'll see that there are a set of KPIs and reports. This launches using smart reporting, but it doesn't also need you really to step out into smart reporting separately. It's just integrated into that coach's user experience. What's the aim of this? I mean, just talking at a slightly high level, what we're aiming to do is to give what KCS calls a long tail effect. This is a kind of a desired end goal. And that means that we end up with, by the way, the long tail is a really interesting concept anyway. I'd encourage you to read a Wired article from 2006 which talked about how Amazon has sort of changed the world of retail by doing this. And the article pointed out that, when we used to go into a shop to buy something like a CD, we only had the main things the shop had, the biggest sellers on the market. Anything else was very hard to find. What Amazon and Netflix and co have been able to do is offer everything. That those obscure CDs that sell 10 copies a year are probably somewhere in the Amazon warehouse. And this principle actually works pretty well with knowledge as well. We should have big focus on the most important articles for our company, the systems that break most often, that cause user challenges. Those articles live in the left-hand side of that tail. They're the ones, they're the kind of the 80 of the 80-20 in terms of usage. And KCS encourages those to get the most focus from coaches and subject matter experts. And what we've built in Remedy helps you to identify what those articles are that should get the focus. But it also enables you to build that long tail, the breadth of coverage of things that might not happen very often, but when they do, they're still a problem for someone. And you might not put as much focus into those knowledge articles, but the important thing is you have to be able to find them, and you have to be able to do them, you create them easily. The principle of working with stuff in this long tail is that it should be available to everybody. It should be cheap to build. There's no point in it costing a lot of time and effort to build something that might only be open 5 times a year, however useful those 5 interactions are. And it should be easy to find. Amazon made stuff easy to find, those obscure CDs. Smart IT makes those point articles easy to find. You don't have to go searching for them if Smart IT has already found them for you. So we had the engine room to do that already with Smart IT. With KCS, we feel we're building the set of tools and principles and practices that align to a very credible industry standard, and you can adopt some or all of those principles, but the aim is that, for all of us in these increasingly digital organizations where we need to have a knowledge base that looks a little like this if we're going to enable our teams to support this new world of, the Internet of Things and widespread use of cloud services and all the other things that are changing. This is something that we feel we can help you deliver with this functionality. So just to summarize the new features, we just want to make sure it's clear what this release looks like. One of the biggest fundamentals is that new user role system. Those new permission groups, they're standard ITSM permission groups. So you administer them in the normal way, and they are effectively the switch off and switch on of KCS for any particular user. They're delivered in Remedy 9.1. They're consumed by Smart IT 1.3 SP1. There is a new RKM template for KCS articles. Yeah, like I say, it's probably going to be popular in organizations who want to follow that to the letter, but you can use any existing or custom remedy template with this functionality as well. The new team management screen for KCS coaches is going to be a real hub of the activity around KCS, I think, for those people who are really fundamental to the success. We've enhanced the flagging and feedback that was already in Smart IT, by which I mean the ability to trigger, to hit a button saying this article needs attention and have that followed up. Well, KCS is quite clear that they expect that to be a KPI. The response time to that following up is a KPI. They want people to be encouraged to leave feedback on the basis they think they're going to get an action from that feedback. So this ties into a remedy business time calculation that enables you to report on the business hours that it takes for different individuals to respond to feedback on their assigned articles. The reason we use business time, of course, is it would be pretty unfair to use elapsed time if for example, you're an organization that works 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. If somebody flags something at 4:49 on Friday and it's responded to at 9:01 on Monday, that should be a 2-minute response, not a 2.5-day response. So it uses that business time segment calculation that if you use service level management, you're probably already familiar with. The inline quality review, it runs on the Smart IT interface. It creates associated records to the knowledge articles, and they tie into reports, and those reports are part of a new set of Smart IT reports, Smart Reporting reports and dashboards that are present in the Smart Reporting application, but also embedded neatly into the console for coaches. That's a summary of the key features of that release. We think we're going to be very close to full KCS verified standard, if not all the way there. But there's some conversations going with KCS Academy about that. But I think for most organizations doing KCS, this should cover really everything they need. I think in some cases we may have some conversations about some complexities, but I think this is going to be. We're very, very proud of this. This is a really, we've set out to achieve that KCS implementation, but to do it really well and in a really usable way, because we do feel, and Gartner seemed to agree with us, that, and a lot of our customers are increasingly agreeing with us, this is going to be very important. Okay, so with that, I will hand you back to Rahul to close out the remainder of the presentation.
Hey, thanks, John. Hey, and John, I'm just going to re-emphasize one point, which is, unlike Smart IT releases, which doesn't require you to upgrade your apps or platform, this one specifically for KCS, you must have Remedy 9.1 and Smart IT 1.3.01 release. So that's one thing specific for KCS. I just want to call out to the audience here.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. It's that was we don't make a decision like that lightly, of course, but given the dependency on structures like permissions and some of the associated records for KPIs and the like, that was really a decision we needed to make. It was that level of change really needed to be tied to a product upgrade rather than. It's very, that would be very, very complex and risky to try and backfill into existing ITSM structures. But, if that proves to be a big problem in any particular organization, we should still have a conversation about it. I just wanted to be clear that was we don't make that call lightly. It was felt to be necessary to achieve this, doing this well and doing this usably and doing this in a consistent manner so that it was administrable as a standard part of ITSM. Okay, good point. Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you, John. So, just to recap, when we started this presentation, the first slide was talking about some of the releases that we have made for Remedy as well as Remedy with Smart IT in last 12 months. For Remedy 9 release was a major release. We kind of added some critical capabilities to the platform. We added archive, REST API, the entire new platform itself, based on the Java. New promotion feature, moving the code and data through the dev to QA to production, smart reporting, the great thing that probably we have offered in the recent past for the customer base. This is all great things that we added for Remedy 9 last May, and we have a minor release that is coming out just 9 months after it. So you can see that there's a lot of effort going into the releases with a aim in mind that we are able to give some significant functionalities. But if there are any rough edges there, we are able to make those kind of available. We are able to take care of those minor release. So that has been on the Remedy apps. But at the same time, Smart IT has done 3 releases in less than 12 months, and there is another Smart IT 1.4 release that is currently in beta. In fact, we had a beta program running in parallel at this call. So you can see, a lot of personas that we have gradually added to the Smart IT interface here. So it's a great time for customers to start thinking about Remedy 9.1 adoption as well as the Smart IT adoption. It is as we see, there are a lot of customers, partners who are currently evaluating the Remedy 9 Smart IT upgrades happening in parallel. And in fact, we are hoping to get a lot of momentum with Remedy 9.1, the minor release going out end of last year. So start thinking about your adoption plan for Remedy 9X as well as Smart IT. And on that note, I'm going to call this presentation, and there are a few more links if you want to get in touch with BMC. Great. That's most of the slides that we have for Remedy 9.1 and Smart IT KCS functionality today.
Hey Rahul, this is Steve. I have a few questions to ask. Can you hear me,
Sure.
Rahul? Okay, good. The first question is, can RSSO run in the same Tomcat instance as mid-tier or MyIT Smart IT, or does it need its own Tomcat?
Okay, so do we have Jason on the call, and can he speak up here? I know that the answer is yes, we can use the same Tomcat, but maybe Jason will have a little more color to add to this answer. Okay, looks like we don't have Jason on the call, but the answer is yes. We'll try to get more details on the chat window here.
Okay, very good. The next question is, in regards to zero downtime, does this mean zero downtime is not available for ITSM?
That's true. The other way to read it is zero downtime. The methodology for upgrade is only available for AR and CMDB upgrade. So essentially you can upgrade your AR and CMDB without any downtime for your users or ITSM application. But if you're looking at ITSM application upgrade, you will still follow the traditional methods of upgrading, and which may require downtime.
Thanks for the clarification. Next question is, are there plans for an asset management persona or a persona change to the CMDB?
This is John. I'll take that one. We're actually asset management is planned for an upcoming release of Smart IT, and in fact we currently have beta activity going on around that very persona. So I put my email address in the chat. It's just jon_hall@bmc.com. And if you know, maybe if it's an area of interest to you, that's great. I can talk to you about asset management for hours if you want me to. Drop me a line and we'll connect directly. Either we could do a roadmap. We can maybe even look at getting you on the release validation program that's in progress now, so that you can get access to that stuff.
Great, thanks, John. Next question is, for archiving, do we need to do any configurations?
So again, there will be a lot of details about the archiving, and if someone is, looking at the archive functionality for the first time, then, the Remedy 9 webinar that we did, May, April timeframe last year, it's recorded. We have all the details there. Other subsequent, detailed archive-specific webinar. In a nutshell, if I have to answer, there are not a lot of configuration need to be done. There are policies that we have provided out of the box. So policies which, for example, incident, which says that an incident which is more than 3 years old and which is in the closed state should be archived. So based on those policies, your data will start moving to the archive table. At the same time, we have provided associations out of the box, and the why associations matter. Long time past, when we used to provide archive, it was single table archive, so instead getting archive, but all of the the attachment and the work log, etc., still hanging out there. With association, we have provided relationship between these items so that when incident get archived, all the the other related data to that incident, the attachment, all the activity log, etc., also get archived at the same time. So all of this is available out of the box, but there might be few things that you want to configure, which is we have captured in the other archive webinars that you can take a look.
Okay, actually this is a good segue to the next question. It's regarding archiving and related tickets, but it's a little bit more specific. So here it goes. How does archiving handle related tickets like REQs that may not be in a completed status yet? Does it make sure all related tickets are also in an end state status?
Right. So, do you have someone? Do you have someone from the ITSM team here who wants to talk about the details here? Ashok or Saroj on the call?
Sure, I will answer that. So currently how this archiving works is like it is actually based on your qualification that you have set for the archiving policy. So as an example, like let's say if you are talking about incident management, so incident management, the HPT help desk form, that will primarily govern your archiving policy. So if you have a qualification like, okay, archive all my records where status is closed, so ultimately what it will do is like it will archive all the records when the qualification is met. Now when we talk about the related records like the work log, tasks, associations, so their status doesn't matter. So if your incident qualifications has met the qualification, then all the records, related records will be archiving irrespective of whatever status. So even if your task is an assigned state, it will still be archived. Does that answer your question?
Yes, great. Thank you very much. Our next question is regarding KCS. Does some of the authoring functionality to support KCS move into Smart IT, or is it just the searching?
Okay, the authoring. There's not specifically anything in the authoring in KCS that won't, fundamentally as a feature means you couldn't use remedy knowledge management in ITSM to write stuff. What we would say though is that the authoring in Smart IT has been significantly improved. We delivered that in 1.1, so there's a nice sort of visual interface. There's assistive behaviors like duplicate checking in real time, which again it's perfectly possible to do on a more ad hoc basis in ITSM, but it's a new assistive tool in Smart IT, which is very helpful to KCS. So while the answer is yes, I'd certainly encourage, if you're using Smart IT, which you will be if you're consuming KCS, the KCS things on search, it would be, I think it'd be very desirable to also use the authoring in Smart IT. It is, it is a really nice interface to work with, and it has some assistive help.
Great, thank you. Next question is also related to KCS. How does KCS relate to the old RKM? Is this replacing the current knowledge management product? Has development stopped in it?
It's an interesting question. I mean, we have customers who have been doing KCS in environments where Remedy Knowledge Management has been their tool, and when we've done assessments in the past, we actually, Remedy Knowledge Management, there's a checklist from the KCS Foundation, and Remedy Knowledge Management firmly tick the box on a large number of the requirements in that checklist. So our aim here has been to, focus on two things. One is to really, with the user experience of Smart IT, we did a lot of thinking about what are the things that KCS really needs to do. What are the things that in the user experience that could really augment KCS behaviors, KCS practices? What can we do to make life easier for users? So again, that duplicate search in real time is a really good example. In fact, even Smart IT, Smart Recorder, where it finds you knowledge articles as you're typing, that very much lends itself to the behaviors advocated by KCS. So that's one of the areas that's improved. Another is that we have thought about some of the specific functional things that KCS has, like that article quality index, like the sort of the coach's viewpoint on the world. That sort of thing that would have to be done on a much more ad hoc basis is now, our aim was to provide world-class features to do that right in the product. So again, we had companies able to take that box using Remedy, but now it's going to be much more integrated and much better, and our customers, and especially Gartner, are recently very adamant that KCS is only really going to work well if you have a very well integrated solution. So that's what we've been able to deliver. So I hope that answers the question. I mean, Remedy Knowledge Management remains the fundamental engine behind this. It's using the existing Remedy knowledge base. You can do KCS with any existing article or template. And I noticed there was another question saying, can you do this with the existing articles you have? That, and so, yeah, in that Smart IT way, this overlays additional user interface enhancements and some assistive features onto what's already there in Remedy. This is the first time, as Rahul has said, with Smart IT, we've really mandated an ITSM upgrade as part of that, and that's because we had to deliver all those role structures and permissions.
Okay, thank you. I do have one more question lined up, and just to remind the audience, if you have questions, please use the Q&A section of the WebEx and post your question. The next question I have is, are there any plans for including MyIT Smart IT, MongoDB, in the archiving functionality?
Yeah, that's a tricky one, as you could guess from the silence. I don't think there is a clear way to achieve it, taking from the Smart IT, MyIT data and archiving it, because most of the data which is contained in the ITSM or in the current archiving is capturing most of the ITSM objects which are archived. So for anything incremental which is specifically stored in Smart IT, there is no way to archive it using the new archive framework that we added. So current answer is there is no way to do that today.
Okay, thank you. Just a reminder, please ask your question in the Q&A section. I'm going to wait a few moments to see if we have any pop in there, and then I'll make sure I get it asked live. Okay, I do have one more here. It's a KCS question. It seems to be a popular topic. Is the editor in Smart IT better than the traditional RKM console?
The knowledge authoring interface, frankly, yes. I mean, and I would answer that for lots of other aspects of Smart IT. Smart IT is we've always designed it to be an interface that works, on it provides a really great new user experience for Remedy users. It's still part of Remedy. It overlays Remedy ITSM. We have quite a few companies who have adopted Smart IT on the basis of piloting, where certain teams would use Smart IT and other teams would continue with Remedy. And we've always aimed to kind of make those things cross-compatible because, it's a big enough step for a lot of companies, adopting a new user interface, albeit one with huge value and making it easier for users, we hope. But we didn't want them to have to consider it an enormous transition from one service tool to another. But I think, to be frank, yes. I mean, if Smart IT is designed to improve user experience, it uses the latest UX technologies. We've designed it with a very persona-driven approach. The aim is, we didn't start thinking about features. We started thinking about the user's day, the day in the life of the person using this tool. How could we, bring a very UX-driven design approach to make life, to give them a tool that's really delightful to use and much and more productive and improving. So it represents a huge investment by BMC in the Remedy customer base. We don't charge extra for Smart IT. And yet it brings great new capabilities, new UX, and better mobilization. So, I point to any feature, and I would hope it would be better in Smart IT because this is it really does form a big part of our strategy for the current and future UX in this area. Something that has represented a big investment and one that thus far has been very successful.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to switch gears a little here. How much effort does it take to switch to RSSO from ASSO?
Yep, I'll take that one. So Remedy SSO, one of the fundamental design principle of Remedy SSO was simplicity. And that was, coming from, a lot of feedback from customers, partners, our own support and services team with, some of the challenges that they have faced with HMSS implementation. So what we've essentially done is super simplified this new Remedy SSO solution. And just want to, throw two data points here. One of our partners in Europe, when he was trying to implement HMSS, they had some challenges, and when they looked at Remedy SSO from scratch to production, they took 10 days for the whole deployment of Remedy SSO and going into production. Similarly, we have quite a few of our Remedy on-demand customers. They use we previously offered authentication using HMSSO, and now we have shifted to Remedy SSO for many of our customers. And that transition was equally fast. We could actually do one customer every second day moving from HMSS to Remedy SSO. So I'm sure the experience is going to be far better for Remedy SSO rollout as compared to whatever you have experienced in the past for other solutions.
Okay, I do have a follow-up question to the zero downtime question I asked earlier. Are there any plans to enable a zero downtime upgrade for ITSM?
Yeah, unfortunately, simple answer is no at this moment. For now, we just focus on the AR and CMDB, what we have offered for a platform.
Okay, thank you. All right. When will there be a CI Explorer / Impact Simulator feature in Smart IT?
Well, I'm pleased to say that in the change management module, that's in the change management persona functionality in Smart IT 1.3, there is already what I think, in my opinion, is an absolutely excellent impact simulator and explorer. This is a good example of the kind of persona approach. We don't just build one feature and try and map it to people's roles. The change, impact, and visualization is really nicely built into the the experience of managing a change. With our intention for asset management, this is where I sound like a product manager for sure, because I'm talking about a future intended release, albeit one that shouldn't be far off. Our intention for asset management is firmly also to have, a sort of a relationship visualization and exploration feature that is, again, works really nicely in line with the day-to-day life of somebody interacting with an assets. And they, as you'd imagine, our aim would be to build everything running off the same kind of visualization theme and just align to each record. Again, if you need to know more about what's coming in asset in terms of that, then please feel free to get in touch, and we can or post on the community, and we can respond directly to that. It has to behave a little bit differently under roadmap conditions than for a product that's already GA.
Thanks, John. That brings us to the end of the questions. One more final call for questions. Oh, looks like we got one right here. When will the Flash-based Atrium Explorer be changed with something that is usable?
You will be pleased to know that the existing change management visualization is using a new library that, a new visualization feature that is not Flash-based and integrates much more nicely into the change experience. I think most people would fairly unanimously say, and we will continue to do that kind of thing. No, the Flash interface certainly has, I'll have to say it is not popular. If you look at the comparative popularity of bits of the interface, nobody really likes jumping into that Flash interface anymore, I don't think, and we've been very, very conscious of that as we've been, building smart IT and focusing so much on user experience. So yeah, that should be good news, and hopefully for you. And then again, you can already see, if you look at change impact simulation in the visualization in Smart IT 1.3, you should already see what we're doing there.
One more, this is kind of a follow-up regarding the asset persona. Will the asset persona also include normalization and recon?
That's a really great question. We're not, again, one of the things about persona-driven approach is what we need to do is make sure we kind of identify what is asset management, what is managing the CMDB, and we're treating those as separate personas. So the forthcoming plans for the asset management release are to focus on the ITAM professionals and people interacting with assets, and not in this coming release to include configuration management, CMDB administration. That's not to say those aren't being focused on and covered. They're just slightly further along the roadmap. I think a lot of the feedback from customers when we've talked to them about Remedy Asset Management is it's an incredibly powerful product. It really is a very powerful product because it benefits so much from sitting on BMC Atrium. The reality of asset management in a digital workplace is that assets aren't as simple as they were 10 years ago. You've got this huge different range of stuff that needs to be asset managed in different ways. There's cloud, there's Internet of Things, there are so many new technologies that are changing the game in asset management. And the brilliant thing is that Atrium handles that all so well and reconciles and normalizes and be plugged into to federated real-time data or discovered data on a periodic basis. All the things you need to do to build a broad asset base. So great. So far so good. Remedy Asset Management benefits hugely from being, from that being its foundation, compared to a lot of standalone products from some of the other enterprise vendors, which have to be clunkily integrated. So far so good. Part of the challenge, though, is that Remedy Asset Management has kind of been an interface for both things, and it's worn a lot of that very outwardly. In other words, if I'm a technician who has to interact with an asset record, I get confronted with a very complex screen, because a lot of that capability is exposed in the front end as complexity. And so our focus for each persona release and asset management, the plans we have for that is no exception, is to really think about, what do I need to have on screen when I'm a technician interacting with an asset as part of an incident transaction? What do I need to have on screen when my role is to be responsible for the company's asset base? And then what do I need to have on screen if my job is to manage normalization and reconciliation? And that's the reason that the CMDB personas will come a little bit down the line based on our roadmap. So right now, normalization, discovery, integration, data sets will still be configured in the Atrium interface, but if you're doing day-to-day asset management, our aim is that you shouldn't have to, as you currently do, noticeably jump from one application to another, and the jump from the ITSM screen to the Adobe Flex-driven visualization. That's not good UX, and that's what we're getting away from.
Thanks, John. Well, with no further questions, that will bring us to the end of this month's Connect with Remedy webinar.
Now and forever, we bring IT to life.